Hello and welcome to the Build to the Dark, or whatever we're calling this, the dark live stream. So where we're building the Stripe backend. If you watched the last one, you saw me struggle with trying to figure out what to do with orders API, and as I was researching it, I found out this small thing that they mentioned in the orders, which I didn't see last time. Which was that this is actually deprecated. So Stripe does not recommend using it. They only recommend because of SCCA, which is some regulations in Europe, which this API is not going to be compatible with. So it should not be used. So instead, what I'm going to do is a very simple calculation based on our existing CMS. So we have a CMS and a GraphQL interface to it. And essentially what I need to do, instead of putting information into Stripe and then trying to get the price from there, is I'm gonna get the ID in Darklang. So we're gonna have in our intent, where we used to create just an intent, I'm gonna pass a new property called the program ID. So we know what because now in our system, people only buy programs for now. So they're going to pass the program ID, and then we grab the program ID from the CMS. So you're going to see how to use GraphQL in Darklang, which I think many people ask. And you're also going to see how to handle simple calculation. So the customer ID, the thing that I created last time, we don't need anymore. So I'm just going to revert the changes, and you're also going to see how easy it is, or not easy, to remove things. So you can see it doesn't let me remove and if I press Alt, that's how I did the removal right away. So now I can remove, but now we have this missing parameters here. So if I go here and I say I don't want to use customer, it's not going to let me do it because we need to delete this first here. So again, Alt delete, Alt delete, Alt delete, Alt delete, removes this whole thing, and then the customer is free to be removed. And now the intent API is back again. So what we're not going to have anymore is we're not going to have the amount, and currency, really we're just going to, like in our system, it's only USD. So I'm just going to hardcode this guy to USD, and the amount will be now calculated. So instead of putting it here, I'm just going to create a calculate amount function, and I'm just going to create it here, calculate amount. And so what this function is going to do, oops, I went to the wrong thing. Just realized I forgot to start the chat, just in case people have questions. So let me start this first. It's thinking, here we go. Okay, it connected to both streams. Okay, awesome. And I think I have notifications enabled there. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. Cool, so it is enabled. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this GraphQL playground. So I have this URL, we have it publicly accessible for now. That's gonna be changed in the future. But that's for now, is because we're just using it to test. So to make a GraphQL request is, if you ever use GraphQL, you're familiar with this playground thing. Essentially what it does, it only does the post request to the same URL that your GraphQL playground is open at. And it does these things like operation name, variables in the query. So what we can do is exactly the same thing in Dark. We can just do HTTP post. Oops. HTTP post this guy. I have the backend URL already saved as a function. So the body is, instead of constructing it here, because it gets quite wordy otherwise, I'm just going to construct it separately. And we use the same trick, or we can actually do this one, I think, here. So operation name is, that's a name that it returns under. So when we get the response, actually I'm not sure this operation name is necessary, to be honest. So maybe we can just go with just the query. I'm just going to take the query thing, and again, because it's too big, I'm just going to chunk it here. It's going to look a bit strange. You see, when I paste it, it's kinda, the string looks a bit strange in the editor, but it's actually fine. You can see it's working here, alright. So I'm not gonna pass operation name, see if it works without it. Query, and then I'm gonna have variables, and the variables is just an ID there, and I have this fixed ID which I saved somewhere. Here we go. So that's the ID of a program that I know exists and have all the details. So that's needs to be passed as a body. Oh, I forgot to disable that thing again, which is great for my eyes but not so great for live streams. While you're watching this, there's this strange thing on my water bottle. So okay, so I'm gonna disable this guy for 1 hour and pass. So here we can pass the query. We don't really need to have any query, and we don't really need to have any header, so I'm just gonna pass empty things. See if this works without operation name. Perfect, so it works. It actually gives us, the reason why I need the operation name there is in the traces, sometimes it's easy to just see what the operation name is instead of looking at the query itself. But we're not necessarily using that functionality, so we're just gonna go without it. So we get our actual data. So now I can go and extract this as a variable and call this maybe program found program. And here's where the tricky part starts. So this thing now has the incomplete. Why is this incomplete? I don't know why it asks me to rerun. So the body, data, and program and price will be here, and you see it returns 34 here. However, that's not always going to be the case. So if I change, for example, this, I'm going to remove this. Actually, it's easier to just remove like a first number. If I remove the first number, then we get an exception here, which is no good. So what we want to do instead is do a safer way. Because this is JSON, like quite often when I'm working with JSON structures, I'm not doing direct manipulation like this. I would do dictionary get, and we know we need to grab a body from there, I believe. See that there is already returns us, so we can kind of, it guides us. It's not as nice as when we're doing dots, but it's usually enough. Program, and that returns the price, and so we just need to grab the price from here. So if at any point this fails, so let's say I do this and then I run this again, as you can see, it's gonna give us this result type incomplete dictionary code with the wrong parameter. But more importantly, see this, there's this take function off rail. Take function off rail. Usually the dictionary get, let me just double check the documentation. Sorry, occasionally I need to look at my kids so they remember that I'm live streaming. They're like, ah, I'm just gonna scream at each other now. So dictionary get, dictionary get returns to us an option. And this option does not always, wait, we switched to the wrong thing, calculate amount. Okay, so the option is give us the error, as you can see, and the error is right now, I think they're saying that it's thrown here. So I think if I get this as a result, I'm just gonna wrap this guy. I think I can wrap this in much, not like that. Maybe I'll just try to get it, wrap this in let instead. Wrap in let, and it didn't work either. So we can do extract variable probably. That's a kind of tricky things with the new editor because I haven't worked with it as much to find out why it doesn't work. Okay, so once again, select all of this, press extract to the variable. Okay, now it works. So program option, and now we're getting this ErrorRail thing. So what we can actually do is we can say here, oops. So we can say here with the control thing, we can say take. Wait, how do we do this? Maybe we'll say it here, take function. There is a way to say it's take function of rail. And that doesn't let us take function of rail. Okay, so we take this one of rail, we take this one of rail. I think we need to take all of them of rail. Of rail and take function of rail. And let's see what happens now. So if I do this, we supposedly should get what I want the program option to be is just an error. And we get this weird error, which is not really what we want. What I'm trying to actually do is maybe something wrong I'm doing. So so only we can tell which one. So it's saying that here, I think it's kind of just displaying them in the wrong place. So it's saying that here, for example, this returns, if we do the match on this, match. So this returns, sometimes returns just, and then it has the value there, and then we kind of want to continue with that value because we're going to extract the rest of it. But sometimes it's going to return nothing, and when it returns nothing, which peculiar thing, we need to figure out what we do. So it actually indicates to us here that there are some errors, so we kind of be aware of them. So when it's nothing, then maybe the price is actually 0. So let's say that's kind of the condition that I want. But it gets quite convoluted if we need to wrap every single rail. Yeah, we're getting an error rail. So let's go and have a look at what they say there in terms of error rail. So it's not necessarily the same as a try catch. When I was learning the error rails first time, it was kind of confusing because I felt it was like a try catch, but it's not really a try catch. So let's see. So they have this railway oriented programming, which I think is this guy. And there is an incomplete code, but that's not the one. The typers, not the one. The error rail. So that's the part where we talk about it. And what we can do is, it's as far as I've kind of understood it from the documentation, is that whenever we get this guy, which works, but we get error rail nothing, we cannot match on the error rail. So if I try to match in program output, it probably not gonna work. Let's look. But what I can do instead, I can pretend that if everything here will be okay. So we're just gonna hope that the price is gonna be there, and that's our price then, and we'll return the price. So let's check if it works. That does work, and now I'm gonna remove one here, and now that doesn't work. But what we can do is, let's try to call this from REPL. So we're gonna call this calculate amount, and I've just had the fix thing there. And that guy gives us this, so we can actually see what the error is here. This is the place which causing the error. So actual type is nothing, expected the result type incomplete. So it's expecting that sometimes this program, the program is not even there, right? So we have a program, I think, but the data program is just null because we haven't found the right program there. So I can just do it on this one and say, if we haven't found the program, then we wouldn't continue. Ideally, what I want, to be honest, when I was thinking about it, is do the match here. So I want to be able to say match, and here I would like to say like error, and then just return the error. And if it's not there, if it's like just, then return the value that we get. Oops. But unfortunately it doesn't work this way, which kind of for me was disappointing about Dark. I think it's not yet there. So the railway programming, as the code is not in the computer because it was incomplete. So this guy actually returned incomplete, and I don't think we can say incomplete here. If we take it off rail, then we can make it to do the match. So if I take it from the match, that's the trickiest part, to remove it from the match. So again, let's see, to remove everything and make a create amount again. So the trace returns incomplete. If we, what was that? That's really weird. Okay, create amount. That could be my connection issue, actually. Okay, so the trace returned this, and we know the error happened here. So what we can do now is we can say, in this guy we can say match, and if we get, so we got here null, I believe, which is okay, because that's not where the error is supposed to be. The dictionary get failed, so it's expecting actual value is null. The actual type is nothing, expect dictionary. So we didn't give it the dictionary, we give it null. That's kind of what it doesn't like about it. Like, so if we can say match here, and we can say if it's null, then we're just gonna return nothing. And if it's a dictionary, but hey, that doesn't work, right? So that's why I was like, cool. So how do we do this? So in recent, like the latest release, what Dark Team actually did is they added this thing called member. So what I'm gonna do is extract this guy first. So we're gonna grab this and say this is the guaranteed thing that should be there. So extract variable, and I'm gonna call this data, let's say. We're gonna get rid of this price thing. So now what we want to say is we want to check if there is a price there. So for that, like, program is gonna be there too, so we know that for sure. Unless the query changes, but that's a different story. So this is like response. So we grab from the program, we check that it has the price tag. And this is just an if, so we don't really need to has price, for example, code. And now we can check if it has a price, then we grab the price from it. So program price. Otherwise, we return nothing. And if we're doing this nothing thing, we really need to say that this guy is just. And see, this is kind of a thing where you need to write the things like this, write it beforehand, which confused me a lot when I was learning it initially. So what's wrong? Dictionary member was wrong with. Okay, so the dictionary member wouldn't work. So instead of this, we can do actually has price is when first we check is null or something like this. Yeah. So we check if it's null, then it really does not have a price. So we can say the other way around. So not is null, then we return nothing. And if it has the price, so if the program is null, then we do nothing. And if we found the price, Then we run this guy and we get 34. So now in here, oops, not in this guy, in the REPL, what we can do is we can do match here. That's where the match is useful. So we can say match. If we get a just, then we get an amount, and we just return the amount. And if we get nothing, then we presume something went wrong and we bail on creating payment and throw error. So if we run this guy, it returns to us 34. And if we go and modify, we really need this ID to be outside. So let's add program ID string, and I'm gonna just put this, copy this program ID here, and whoops, and put this here. So if we do this, we get 30. We don't get 44. Why we didn't get 44? Ah, because I didn't finish typing program ID. Here we go. So we got 34. In Susan, I go change it. We get bail. Okay, so now we can create the, go and modify the actual intents function. Let's just check. I don't need to see the settings. Okay. So when I modify the intents, what I want to say is calculate the amount, and then based it on request.body, and we're asking for program ID now. There. So it's failing for us because it doesn't know which program ID we mean. So as we changed our implementation, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and change the actual query import too. So if the poll eventually loads, that's the wrong project. Okay, so that's our creating payment intent, and instead of amount and the currency, what we're gonna pass now is program ID. And that ID here is a string, and it's just this, oops, it's just this number, which I'm gonna send. Let's see if we get it. So type error in function. So that's where it starts shining dark line, because diagnosing this in like Node.js is hard. So as you can see, we have some program ID strangeness there with multiple thing that I've noticed this right away. So let's do this, fix this first. Still getting type error. So this guy returns just, but this one is expecting us to give us the value. So it's as soon as we use the just and nothing, the rest of our code will be asking us like, hey, what should I do in case when there's nothing, because the just is here now. So we can say that if let's say we'll do the match again here. So that's the kind of, when we try to add the match, it kind of gets strange, but we can probably just do something like nope, we're not done. Let's give us another 10 minutes. So we're gonna do match, and we're gonna look at amount, and if it's just, then we grab the value and we do this part. However, so this is our value, and I'm just gonna leave the currency outside. However, when there is nothing, then what we're gonna return is HTTP not found, and that's gonna tell. So this is a kind of result. Now we can do result here, and it tells us this trace returns something strange. Let's try to rerun this. Okay, so the trace returns client secret error amount is too small. So where calculate amount function doesn't account for the fact that it is cents. So whenever we pass the number there, like in our system we have $34 US, but they're actually expecting us to have cents in the amount. So I believe what we need to do is, when we got the number, after we got this guy, then we need to multiply it, and I just need to add, so to this guy, just gonna add multiplier by 100. And if we look at it, this now looks like the amount of cents, I believe. So if we try to, again, I don't even need to use Paul again, I'm just going to run this guy. Boom, we get client secret. So you saw diagnosing, debugging, that's where Dark really shines. Like writing now is not yet as good, like I feel more productive in the editor, but for diagnostic, boom, like it's so much faster than doing it in Node, trying to insert console logs, trying to figure out what's wrong and why it doesn't work. The typing could be better, to be honest, I would say, especially for JSON, but for now it's good enough, and the diagnostic really shine, and for me it makes a big deal. So this client secret we can actually use. So let's try that index HTML that I created the other day. So I think I'm just gonna open this. I think we have this guy, Stripe payment card, and we just need to open. I think we just need to. Yeah, I remember this weird bug now. For some reason, my hyper does not accept. So hyper is the terminal that I use, and for some reason it doesn't accept drag and drop anymore. Probably something to do with my privacy settings, because Apple likes to make this sometimes quite difficult. As you can see, I forgot to press this button. Okay, so I don't really know what I need to press in Hyper to be able to access it, but what I'm just gonna do is in Finder, if you have a problem like this, you can always press, you can always right click, then hold and copy as path name, and that's gonna give us the folder. Just gonna do npm start here, and I believe it's localhost 4242. Yeah, this guy, checkout page. So this page in the beginning had amount and stuff. I've removed it, I'm gonna bring it back there. So I'm just gonna open VS Code so we can modify the product ID, but instead of product ID, we're gonna send the client ID. So it's here, we had the purchase before, so now we have product ID, program ID. I mean, I cannot type. Hello VS Code, why I cannot type? It doesn't let me type for some reason. Like, I'm pressing the keyboard buttons and it doesn't work, so okay. Guess it's Vim time. Okay, so instead of this, I'm just gonna use program ID, and I'm gonna put that special program that we have. I keep forgetting that it has parentheses there already. What you don't like. Okay, so let's have a look what happens if we do that. We get 4. Why do we get 4? This is 4. Refresh. Oh, it's just slow. Okay, cool. So we get our client secret, so we can actually try to do 44, 52, 0, 2, 22, 1, 2, 3. And if everything is working fine, in our Stripe dashboard, we're actually going to see payments exceeded. And if I open the Stripe dashboard, I found this extension which I'm not yet convinced is good, but it works good enough, I guess. It's kind of has a very hard way to add things to the sessions, so I don't really like the way it's working. Sign in, and it signed me out for some reason. No stripe. Nah, apparently forgot my stripe account. This one. Glad you cannot see the password. Authenticator app. Yeah, sure. I don't know why did it log me out. That's a bit strange. Okay, so we should see the test data, and in the test data we should see now the payments, and we should see the payment for $34. Yes, I think that was correct number there. Let's see if we get it. Come on, Stripe. Yay, that's the one. So this is the payment for $34. The only thing which I was like, when I looked at this payment, I'm like, that's cool, but it doesn't say what it is for. Right, so it doesn't have a description. So what we probably want to do is to add a description there. And guessing, what we need to do is we can just go here and we can say description, and maybe this isn't gonna work, but I'm just gonna try description. And here I want to just pass a program ID, same thing that we had over there. So request.body. So I'm gonna make this a variable now. Call this program ID and pass the program ID here. And if everything is okay, keep forgetting the percenter, I think. If everything is fine, we should be able to just call this guy. So our body will. Right. So we would need to call this program ID progr. For some reason I didn't finish writing it. So I'm gonna see if this create payment intent now has program ID. So as you can see, it doesn't. That means that I need to kind of go here, and now I need to check that I have program ID. Okay, so I can call this function again with the program ID, make sure that I got a client secret, and instead of creating the whole thing, I don't actually need to create the payment now. I just want to make sure that whatever my incomplete payment now is, that intent for the customer to purchase, which is this one I believe, has a description. As you can see, it has. So it's not very good or user-friendly to have a description like this, right? So let's grab from calculate amount, ask it to return to us not just the price, but also, so maybe we'll call this, and this is the wrong name here, so let's call it program. And if we have a program, then we do this. So we return the price, and I'm going to copy this. So let's see how Dart can handle this. And I'm just going to put the price here, copy this guy here, and have a name, which is also part of the program name, and we get it from the dictionary program. And I think we have something like name there. Now we kind of need to change this first. So we need to add here. And that's the way you see kind of it breaks the whole experience. So I'm trying to press enter here. I cannot. Like, I cannot edit this without removing the whole thing. So the strings is kind of one place where Dart for now is like, I can't just go in the middle. I mean, I can do this, but the enter doesn't work. So if I press enter, press alt enter, control enter, I can press shift enter, which is not really useful for me. And I believe that if I just put name here, it wouldn't work, but we can try and see what happens. Maybe the enter is not necessary. Okay, the enter is not necessary apparently, I didn't know that. So works, but not really ideal, you know. So in this scenario, you kind of need the only way I found is you really should remove the whole thing. So we go and we get rid of the whole thing completely, and then we copy it again. So if I have a name here now, copy it from here, and then I paste it here, and then it's kind of better looking because it's separate there. Maybe one of the things that I think there would be like I can fix it in here without changing everything is to construct this query. So we really need to have like some basic primitives to construct like a functions where I can say this is the query, this is the type, and this is the variables, and then it's not going to be as ugly because we're essentially just concatenating the string. So this is going to return different data now, but we can see here that if I call calculate amount, and now maybe we'll call this something else. So let's call this function maybe something like get program details. And as you can see, it changes here automatically. So that's our program. So if we have a program, now it's kind of looking better, I think. We can say that that's our PRG, I guess. I think we cannot use, so I can try to use program here, but I think it's not going to let us. Create payment intent program. As you can see, program here is kind of like it doesn't know what we mean, so that's why I need to use PRG or something like this, or program details for this guy, and this is program itself here, and then we can do and use the amount is program dot amount, and the currency is the currency, and the program ID is the program ID, which we really should have on the program anyway, but code was not executed for this trace, so let's see. Okay, we're getting a type error, so expect to see value of type, but found nothing. Program.price, I bet. I've named it price. Okay, so almost there. So we have a program ID. Let's in the payment intent just set it to something more readable. That so instead of program ID here, we can actually pass the name. That's why we needed the name, right? So that's I completely forgot about it while I was editing. Program name, and we can say here something like payment for thing. See, it doesn't work, right? Payment for, and that's why it's might get confused. So I usually prefer to do, oops, not that. I usually prefer in this scenario when it's like when I want to add to a specific one, and it's also visually more appealing in my experience is program name like this. So then if we go back, we're not going to pass the program ID here, we're just going to pass program.name. We can actually extract this into a separate function now because it doesn't depend on anything global anymore. That actually should be enough, so I'm just going to go back to payments, wait for it, and it should say payment for program guidance. Okay, so not really good enough, but we can now go and just modify this for program, brain uploads, payment for program, and then we do it like this, and we can see brain uploads payment for program, and it doesn't give us the string for some reason. I wonder why, because it says program name is incomplete. That's interesting one. So it seems to point to us to the fact that it's incomplete, while the last trace we had is actually complete. That's an interesting bug. And so when I find something like this, I usually do this. Just refresh, and when you refresh, quite often it just fixes itself. So let's see, 11 minutes ago, and this is, yep. So I don't know why, but that's like now it has a thing, and we can see the description now. Enables payment for program guidance. So now we have a good description, and it's probably something around the lines that we can identify them here without being completely confused by what is going on. So I'm gonna refresh this page one more time just to make sure that everything is working in the tandem. 2057201 pay. So most of these things, like I only investigated how to do the initial one just to make a call to GraphQL. The rest I've done now on the fly. I did not prepare for it, and I wanted to show you how simple things are with Dark when you start debugging things, because that's one of the most challenging things to see someone debugging, or with manual debugging you waste so much time. So yes, writing is a bit tricky still, but the debugging and being able to change things on the fly, that's where the beauty comes with Dark Link. And for some reason we don't have a payment here, so let's just refresh the page and make sure we get something. There's a couple of like finishing touches, I guess, is we can add the customer ID there if we want, so we know which customer it is. But that's going to be a bit of later, because what we're figuring out now is what do we use in terms of authentication system. So when the people book with us, we need to ask them for the email address. So we're looking at like auth0, and we'll be integrating with a checkout page, which you can see right here. So that checkout page will essentially ask them for the email address probably after, and then update the or probably just ask them right away, because we do really need the email address. And yeah, if they don't have the email address, then it's kind of quite difficult for us to continue with them on the mobile app. That's where they also get their purchases. So yeah, so that's the end of this stream, I believe. We're almost done, I think about an hour now. It's not all available to stream. So yeah, I hope you enjoy watching that stream where we did so we did calling the actual GraphQL functions. You remember? Let me show you this again. So get program details, calls the GraphQL function, it adds the variable. So if you have any GraphQL API, it's not the best experience, I would say, especially when it comes to big strings like this. Like that really looks shit, to be honest. I'm hoping that they're gonna fix and create like something like a multi-line string at least, where we can have a better experience looking at it. And yeah, you just need to specify variables in the query. It's pretty simple. And we figured out how to handle scenarios when there is no data, when the program is not there. What do we do in this scenario? So like we return nothing, and that's what the beauty of just nothing. That then later on we need to make sure that wherever we're dealing with it, we need to handle that too. And we'll also look how to change things on the fly. So we added the description thing and the program name. Most of it was relatively straightforward, besides occasional bug here and there. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed watching this stream, and the next stream will be probably this week. It's probably will be either connected to the auth0, or we're gonna directly create clients in our own database. Most likely it will be auth0 or Okta. So from here we're gonna, after they perform the payment, remember they created this payment results thing. So we don't necessarily want to have all the clients, but after they created the payment, we want to grab the customer email address, which we didn't specify there. That means we're gonna need to add it there. And that email address will be used to create a customer in our system, and then attach the program to them saying that they have paid for it. Yes, so until next time, see you. Thank you for watching.